Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Craft Blend Book Reviews. I am one of your hosts, Daniel, joined by my lovely, always elegant, beautiful, my gothic matron, Heather.
Hi, everybody.
And today we are discussing Mexican Gothic by
Yeah.
Silvia Moreno-Garcia. But yes, so first things first, do we love it?
Yeah, so it was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun. I
It was
liked
a
it a lot.
solid read.
It was a lot of fun, yeah. I would definitely, yeah. I would call this kind of like a cozy gothic.
Adventure. Yeah. To me, I rated it about a 3.5.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I rated it about like a 3.6, 3.8. Around there.
Yes, it's within, that review for us. So a little bit about Mexican Gothic. It's about our main protagonist, Noemi, as she goes to visit her cousin in a Mexican village in the top of a mansion owned by her new fiance of her cousins, the Doyle family, and maybe something isn't quite right with the family. And it's a gothic adventure in a Mexican setting. And our protagonist, Noemi, is there to investigate. So, what do we think of Noemi? As our hero, villain? Who's to say? But yes, Noemi, I'll go first. So Noemi, I thought it was kick-ass. I felt like, when I always mentioned in some past episodes, I love the femme fatale, noir acting, like female protagonists, with smoking and, always dressing hot and a dark red lipstick and the no kick attitude and, daddy's girl. She respects her daddy, but she's her own woman. But yeah, so I thought she was really really kick ass for this type of story, especially that a lot of at least I'm not well versed in um gothic literature, like horror gothic literature. I am movie format. I've seen like a few that I can remember. So like it's always like a pale white lady. So it's nice that Noemi is a bit different in which she has colors, and this is in a Mexican like setting.
Okay.
So I do love that within itself.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the setting. I enjoyed everything about it. I think I had told you it reminded me of like your like a Mexican Jane Eyre, that kind of like idea of just like a gothic, a horror, a bit of like your um it kind of twists all of that on its head, right? Because I feel like a lot of like for me, gothics tend to be a little like, how would I put it? Like more masculine, I think. They tend to be more like there's men usually and stuff like that, and I feel like it was really nice to have like a young girl be in this kind of like um just idea, and then also her being Hispanic, which was really fun as well.
Yeah,
So
it was a little twist within that old, you know,
yes.
yeah. And with Noemi, there's also many characters to explore. Who jumped out at you within this world?
Oh, immediately Francis.
Yeah.
I loved Francis. I loved him from the beginning. I love
Yeah.
my nerdy, sad, smart boys that are just like
Did you get Tim Burton vibes?
a little bit, yeah, a little bit, right? But like, but not really. He reminded me of somebody, but I can't remember who I thought of at the time. But I always like those characters that are just like your smart little nerdy guys that are very
Yeah.
quiet, but they're very nice, and they kind of like they pull up when they need to, which I think is fun. But
Yeah.
definitely Frances. And Noemi was just great from the beginning. I mean, she was
Yeah.
definitely like she was uh a little like badass, She was just
Yeah,
like,
like a
I'm just here. I'm
firecracker.
like
Yeah, and
living my
she
life. I'm gonna have fun. I'm still
and she
young.
gets shit. No, yeah, and she gets shit done. She's there
Exactly.
for her cousin. Like she's no attitude type person. Like what the hell? Uh,
Absolutely.
Me too. Florence jumped at me too. I thought totally Tim Burton, especially with the imagery of him in the graveyard when he has that scene with Noemi, and then I pictured it so cinematically,
Yeah.
like, and the gate and the creaks and the noise, and then you're kind of back and forth. I know that you were nervous too, but I was nervous as well. I just because you were reading it after me, so like I was like, please, because I love him so much, don't let it be a twist that he's a douchebag.
I know. That's
Please,
why I made you spoil it for me, because I was
please.
like, I don't want to
Yeah,
get through this book and be
yeah.
upset.
And I'm like, Mama, I'm gonna give it to you already. Like, no, no, he's our baby boy. Like he's our short king.
Oh my
Our short
god.
king.
I was very happy that Francis didn't end up being awful because I really
Yeah.
liked him. But yeah, there's just so many, like, even the bad guys were really interesting characters, I feel. They
Yes.
were
Yeah.
fun and they were evil in like a fun way, and like
Yeah.
it was just nice to have these like this small group, like little cast, and just have a lot of fun with them. Like I think that I remember like at the end I was like a little sad because I'm like, that's it, like we're done with Francis and Noemi, and I would have liked more from them for their
From for
adventure,
for their adventure, exactly.
so like it was almost kind of bittersweet to finish the book because I really ended up coming to really love Noemi and Catalina and Francis. They were just such likable characters.
Yeah. Actually, that's where I could disagree slightly. Not on Florence or Noemi. I thought Catalina was more underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she was just like in the background. She's
I
like
mean,
the
well, she wasn't the main character at all.
yeah, yeah, but I thought they could have given her a little more.
I don't know, but she kind of like
Like I thought she was
she
too much
was,
bedridden.
but that's the
Like
thing. She was fighting against it though. See, I can't agree with that because I think she was fighting from the get-go. She could have let it consume her, but she didn't. She was like, I need you to go talk to that lady and get me that medicine because I know that's what works. I mean, I
yeah.
think she was doing her best. It's just it was taking over.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted more. I just wanted more, and I wanted to maybe not dual protagonist or anything like that, because not all stories need to have that, included. But especially in the third act, I wish she would have done a little more and stuff
What
like
did you
that.
want her to do?
I don't know. I wanted to like back to back, like not shotguns or turn into like pulp gothic, but I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it. It's just like I wanted her to be stronger. I don't know why. I just wanted her to be a little more. I just thought like she was like writing wise or whatever. I feel like she's the catalyst of why Noemi goes over there or whatever. And I feel like they don't do much and they don't give us much backstory. Oh, I don't know. There's something missing and it's hard to put my hand on it. It's just there's fewer. I think there's more scenes and more character development with Florence, which is like the mother, you know, matriarch, like for the family. And even her, she has scenes with Noemi with like the polishing of the plates and all of that. I feel not connected to her, but like an understanding of why in this cruel world she is the way she is, at least Florence, and stuff like that. With at least with Catalina, it's like a scream here, coma and toast, a good 30% that doesn't talk or we don't go into her room. It's screaming from the doctors. It's like she's just background noise. And then in the third act, I was hoping for her to get all her subconscious back and then team up with Noemi, but it was mostly Noemi and Florence, at
Francis.
least. Francis. I don't know why I keep saying Florence and the Machine. It's probably because of the bad name.
No, because
Uh,
Florence is the lady.
yeah. The Florence is the mother. There
Yeah.
we go. And then France, sorry, so many
Francis is
F's
the
name.
yeah,
Yeah.
Francis is the
But
son.
yeah, it's just I at least I felt that.
I
Now
guess I can understand it. There was definitely more in terms of like learning who Florence was. While Catalina, you're kind of left with like you're not really sure who she is. She just
yeah.
happens
And
to
then
be.
everybody else tells you her story. And
I mean,
everybody
I
else
don't. I guess I understand that, but I'm also like, but she's like being taken over by like the mushroom. So like, I don't know what you expect from her.
I don't
Just
know. I
confused. Like, what do you mean?
Noemi is
What
badass,
do
and then
you want
Catalina
Catalina
está
to do?
comiendo
She's being
mierda.
taken over by a damn mushroom. Like, what?
But so is like other people. And then, oh, we could go into that as a what a question of like, what did you like about the twist? At least with that, and we'll go back to setting as the third question. But at least for me, I was getting scared because I was going leaning towards like, is this vampires? It feels like vampires. I hope it's not vampires or a
Yeah.
vampire hybrid.
When
But
did
what
you
did
start thinking it was something else?
No, I never thought. I was always thinking it was vampires.
Um, no, I actually picked up what it was gonna be about around the scene with the dude where he was in the forest and I mean when they were in the cemetery and he was talking about his interest in like mushrooms and stuff like that. I kind of figured out like it was gonna be
Oh
something of that.
no.
I
I
knew
just
it was
thought that
gonna
was
be
like a quirk.
something I no, I thought it was gonna be something hallucinogenic. I figured that from that scene. But I didn't like I wasn't sure, but I did think that it was gonna be something hallucinogenic. Like it was gonna be something either in the wall, like that it was gonna be mold or something in the walls that was gonna like
Yeah.
affect the way they think and everything like that.
Yeah,
But the
it's
fact that it like is a living being almost, that was surprising to me. I thought that was kind of
yeah,
fun.
I know it completely caught me off left guard because like at least it's because mostly with the Doyles, like the men Doyles, like Howard and Virgil, they really reminded me of like sleazebag, like vampires from like maybe Anne Rice, like with the fluffy collars and the English accents and the pale, pale, pale skin and all. I kept getting vampire imagery a lot, and especially by the way they talk and stuff like that. And Howard with his like white supremacy outlook, and and then also in connection to the town and the history of the mines, the dark mines, and bats. I was thinking vampires. So when it ended up being like mushrooms and like plant based and hallucinations and the house is alive and then the house ends up being a character too, like a living thing too, kind of like poison ivy up in this bitch. Like I was like, damn, like it was a good little twist within it.
Yeah. No, I liked it too.
And
I
and then
didn't.
thinking about it,
Mhm.
there's a lot of foreshadowing in the beginning, the like with the flowery wallpaper, and then her seeing the thing on the roof and the nastiness of like the not the leak but kind of like a leak, you know but I did not get that. I thought that was like a red herring, like it's like the house is just a nightmare and these visions are just like you know
Yeah, no, I picked up pretty quickly in that scene. I started to kind of understand. I mean, I wasn't like completely sure, but I started to understand like, okay, this is gonna be something in the air, something that they're going to be like feeling. But I think that's also because I think that's gaining popularity right now, like the idea of mushrooms and everything like that, especially with like,
The Last of
The
Us.
Last of Us. Yeah, I think that's just kind of like a thing now.
Yeah, everything is like
Um,
vampires, we're taking over mushrooms. Zombie genre, we're taking over mushrooms.
yeah, exactly. So
All
like
about
I
mushrooms.
I feel like that was kind of like what led me to feel like, okay, this is gonna be something related to that. But I really like that it was like its own thing because it wasn't just a family of like it was a family of bad people, yes, but it wasn't just a family of bad people. It was something literally taking over their minds and kind of like almost melding everybody together. It was really cool. So yeah, I really did enjoy that twist on it. I thought it was fun. And I didn't think vampires because I don't know why I didn't think vampires, but I never once thought vampires. How
How
odd.
fun. I know how funny.
It didn't cross my mind vampires.
I just kept getting that.
I think because like like gothic stories that I've read don't like I think I was just like the only recent one I'd read was Jane Eyre. So like I think that one was still in my mind. And Jane Eyre has no vampires in it. So like when I think of like a gothic, like a classic gothic, it wasn't like a Dracula. It was
Yeah,
like that kind of story.
mostly I think of at least undead and dead ghost. That's where I go first with Gothic, like ghost stories, like very very slow paced existential ghost stories. But then with the imagery with the Doyles, like I said prior, it just made me lean more a little bit. Like I'm like I don't think they're like dead, so maybe vampires, and especially like how creepy with she can't look Virgil too much in the eye because she feels like he's compelling her, and then how she'll have dreams of him and yet be sexually attracted to him and stuff like that, like that bathroom scene. Like I was like ooh, ooh,
I'm
even though
telling you, those scenes were hot. I was like, damn it.
exactly.
I don't want to like Virgil, but damn, all right.
Yeah, I was like
Where are we going with
ooh,
this?
I know, like stop it, stop it. But yeah, so it just made me think of like Castlevania slash,
I think
vampires.
it took elements from that and just kind of like changed the storyline of instead of vampires, it was a mushroom. Because essentially they were dead. It was just keeping them alive.
Yeah, exactly. So they're just
So I think you can claim that it's vampiric in nature because they're alive and it's kind of using them for its own, you know, a gain basically to continue living. And it also
yeah,
kept them alive. So there were elements of it. I think you can say that, but it was still fun. I like this. I like the idea. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun.
yeah. And then more with just characters and story. I think what works really great and what Sylvia brings is places, like description of places like the town, the house itself, the road, the graveyard, just atmosphere and location. Oh,
Atmosphere is definitely number one on the list
yeah.
of things she brings to the table. Like from the beginning, you're like, "Ooh, this is spooky. This is like creepy. This is
Mhm.
interesting. This place, like," and I love the vividness of it. I could see pretty much what this place looked like. You know what I mean?
Me too. Like I
It's kind
still
of
see
like,
it.
you
Mm,
remember when we talked about the Gilded Ones, where it was a great story, but I felt like the setting, I couldn't see it very well. There was still
yeah.
some of it that she was missing. This is like the complete opposite. I could see everything. It was like she set the scene and you were in it. Like you were standing in the hallways looking at this great like mansion and watching people do things. And it was just, for me, it was very immersive. Like you were
Yeah,
in
like
the book, you were in the story.
exactly. And you knew the hallway, you knew the door, you knew the room, the balcony extension,
You
you knew
even
where the
knew like
tape.
the town and the drive down there and like what the
Yeah,
little town looked like and the small
the
amounts of people
building.
everywhere. Yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
very immersive. I could give her that for sure.
Yeah, so that like for me, one of the greatest, you know, caveats I could give her is like setting, location, atmosphere,
Yeah,
top
she sets the
notch.
tone from the beginning. You're in like this spooky place and it's just really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, at least with me, like why I would say, not to go into negative sections, but just like why the 3.5. And then I would just say it does have some of the stereotypical things of, the slow pace nature of gothic horror. It's not really something I love, maybe because I've seen maybe too much in movie format. So it's
Probably.
just,
Because
yeah,
I would say that I didn't feel like that at all. I was having fun with it. But then, like I told you, I'm not like, I don't immerse myself in gothic like horror or anything like that.
yeah.
Not often.
Yeah.
So it was still like, I'm still at that point where it's still fun for me. It's
Yeah,
not
no,
like,
it was still fresh because the funny thing is like at least with horror in my literary life of like as a reader, horror is not like favorite genre of reading, but in another medium, horror movies I love. So
mhm.
it's like that's I consume for horror is video game and movies is where I consume more. I am trying to do that with books too, but like Heather says, my favorite genre is literary gay fiction, like contemporary, like I just love my sad gay boys.
Yes, incredibly much.
But
But I think we
actually,
all have our little things. You know me, I love my female characters and I
yeah.
always want them to be at the forefront. So I think every reader has their interests,
Yeah,
you know?
and then just to give a little input because it is the Halloweenish season, it's the fall season, it's like September, October, and stuff like that. And so my TBR, I try a mood. I'm half a mood reader, so like I like spooky stories within September, October. So at least for me, I'm learning that my favorite literary um horror subgenre genre is existential sci-fi horror. I'm like in my third sci-fi book this month in my TBR, and I'm like, I think I found my little niche within horror that I like. Last year, I experimented with anthologies and short stories, and whether it was fun, but I think I overblown myself with too many anthologies and short stories that it short circuited me. So this year, I'm just doing middle grade, and then for my adult, I'm doing like very sci-fi. Basically, what I did was I saw my favorite interests within movies
Mm-hmm.
and video games, and then I did Google. So I'm like, horror books in the vibe of Dead Space, horror books in the vibe of Silent Hill, horror. So I started to get and curate part of my TBR to that. So at least with that, I'm like, so maybe Gothic horror, I need to read a little bit more because I like to experiment more. I don't like to one and done and judge it just with one book because all it takes is that one author to grab you. So at least with Sylvia, she's not bad, so I'm not leaving the genre. She was pretty good and I kind of like it, and it has enough differences and enough nuances that I could recommend it. I could recommend it. It's not like mediocre, it's not below 3. It's like pretty solid, and I would like to see an adaptation as well, just because it does have significant differences, that it would be fun. It would
Oh
be a
yeah, I
nice
would
wild
love to
ride.
see this in movie format. Heck yeah. That would be really fun to watch this as a movie, kind of like your
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be really fun.
And then what
I
I'm
already like I could already picture it in my head. So
Yeah.
yeah, it would be
What I'm
great.
most curious is like a flip side of another coin, at least with your side and your opinion, why 3.5 or 3.6? Like what falters it? Not necessarily in negative formats, but like what makes you not rate it super high?
I would say the reason that I didn't is well, for one, it is for me just a little simple. It was a little predictable
Yeah.
in certain aspects. But then the other thing was that um the ending has a lot of like I feel a little bit too much like how would I put it? Like I remember I told you that I was
Rushed?
like, no, it's too slow actually. Because I got to a point where I was like, okay, I know what this thing is now, and like just light the place on fire. Like I don't understand why we're still standing here
Like
doing
why?
anything. I
Why?
mean, honestly, like, why are we still here when you could just light it on fire? The fact, like, okay, so like one of the things that immediately came to me towards the middle, not at the beginning, but towards the middle, when you started understanding a little bit more what was happening, were the cigarettes. I'm like, it doesn't like cigarettes because it doesn't like fire. Just fucking burn the thing down. So, anyways. So I got to a point where I was like, okay, we know how to kill it already. Just do it. Why are we just standing here talking to each other? Like, just light the bitch on fire, but whatever. So I did get a little bit like that towards the end where I was
Yeah,
like,
but I
okay,
get
like,
that happens a
we
lot
need
in
to hurry up
horror
here.
sometimes. That it's like
It
we
happens
want
what?
to that it happens in the horror genre a lot, that sometimes we want to like put ourselves in there and like slap people, like be like, oh my god, come on, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Even though for me it was opposite, in the sense of like, these are vampires, bitch. These are vampire, and this is 1950s. Like vampires, like Dracula, Nosferatu, and stuff like that existed in 1925. Like
Yeah.
it's within the pulp culture, girl. And especially Mexico that loves horror. Like what it is, even though I was wrong. But I'm like,
Yeah.
get the fuck out there, get your cousin. But it also
Just burn
scared.
it down.
Yeah, but it did scare me in the sense of like a hidden fear that could be suggested in the book and in real life too, is that sometimes women, the struggle they go to, like with like she didn't I was scared of her father too, because her father was a little bit controlling. I thought her father sent her there on purpose. I don't know if you felt that. It disappeared a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, at first you're kind of like, why is he sending her there? But he kind of fades away. You don't really think
Yeah,
about him anymore at some point.
exactly. So I'm like, yeah. So I was just like, Noemi
And
has to
to
do.
be honest, it's just not like that's where like the thing changes a little bit in terms of like eras, I guess, because like that in 1950s Mexico, I doubt a father would send their young daughter to some house just because the cousin was ill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like in my head, I was just like, why
Mm.
is her dad sending her instead of like, some dude that maybe like could
Yeah,
use
what
something, you know?
yeah, what
But
is Noemi what is
you're like
Noemi
you're
gonna do?
sending your
What
young
is Noemi
daughter.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
like
what is
what is she
Noemi
gonna
gonna
do there?
do? She can like take her cousin.
But at the same time, like I do like that it does change that kind of like it messes with that idea a little bit of like, yeah, we think that she's not allowed to be like herself, but she is essentially, she's still allowed to be, a bit of a controller of her own life, her own destiny kind of thing, even with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
idea that women are just, there
Because
for
even
whatever.
with Frances, where she teases him about like going to a club and dancing and meeting people and having a nice night out and stuff like that, like she's kind of like enthralling him because he's been in this house so long that she's giving him the sprinkle of you could be a city boy with me, a city girl. Like it's like like
It's so cute.
it is cute and
I did like the romance. I really enjoyed Francis and Noemi.
yeah.
I think because I just like that dynamic of just like this shy, awkward kid who's very smart, and then this like overbearing, very smart girl who's just like loud and obnoxious a little bit. But
I
they get
loved it.
along and they're having fun, and she like teases him and he's shy. That dynamic has always been my favorite. I love that.
I know I love that
Opposite
dynamic
even, like
too.
like the whenever one of the characters is shy and the other one's like super outgoing, I always love that.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. We discussed a lot of great points. We gave our ratings. We do recommend it as a spooky, fun read. It is passable in case because it could be a bit basic, but it's not horrendous and where it's a really bad read or skip
Yeah, I think
completely.
what makes up for it is like we were saying, the atmosphere and then the characters. Noemi and Francis, you really end up loving them towards the end, I feel. I think
Yeah,
it's just a fun book. Like I don't recommend going into it with this idea that one, you're gonna be scared, or two, that it's like a serious conversation. It's just fun and it's an adventure and it's a gothic and it's just like you could tell she was having fun with the story. And I think if you just read it to enjoy it and for the spooky season, I think you'll like it a lot.
yeah, and I would totally read another book from her,
Oh yeah.
in the next fall, like and stuff like that. So I really, really dig it. So that's it for this week. And we're gonna give a little sneak peek of next episode. Who are we doing? Who are we doing, Heather?
Hold on, I got the book right here.
We're doing a
Do, do,
master,
do, do,
master of
do. The
horror.
king.
The king himself. Are you ready for that big daddy of a book?
I actually am. I'm super excited. I can't wait for it. And it's got pictures. Yeah.
Yes.
But
I'm
I'm
s-
excited for it. I think it's gonna be super fun. And for me, Stephen King, I always end up enjoying most of his stories. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
excited for this one.
I'm super excited too, especially with being the month of October. Now the funny thing though is that this is a little bit of a subgenre flip, and we know that he can master other genres too, because they're like there's enough said about him. But
Yeah.
this one is more I don't want to read too much into it, but I think it's within fantasy. It's fantasy. But maybe he interjects horror. I do not know that. But
Yeah.
at least for now it's fantasy. It could be fantasy horror. You guys have to wait and tune in for our next episode. But yeah, we love you all. Have a great one.